Good morning, good morning, good morning. I said I'd be on in 20 with plenty, so here I am. My name's Dwayne, and along with my wife Kelly, we hope to help you to create the best version of yourself and live the life that you truly desire. And if you want to find out more about Kelly and I, you can go to our business page, which is facebook.com/Kelly and Dwayne. Pretty hard stuff to remember, isn't it? So I wanted to come on this morning because I've recently been on. G'day, Suzanne. Nice to see you. And Corley, how you going? All the way from the States. Who's that I can see coming on? It's nice to have you. Recently, I've been really looking into personal development, and I started reading a book that most people regard as the personal development foundation of the 20th century. That's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'd never read it before, and I've only just started to. I'm listening to it, so I'm listening to the audio version of it, and I think I will buy the book because it's good to refer back, and it actually recommends that you go back and read the book 3 times before you implement it. But what I've noticed about a lot of personal development topics and subjects that are in the modern day, they're based on ancient wisdom that's been around for thousands and thousands of years. And that's what I want to talk about because growing up as a student of the Bible, I've studied the Bible my entire life, so I consider that to be my personal number one self-help book. And it's easy to get a little bit stuck in that and go, yeah, I'm going to look at that and nothing else. But the books like Think and Grow Rich is, even though it's based on money, the principles behind it are quite interesting, and they expand a lot on the principles that are touched on in the Bible. And I wanted to talk about one that I listened to yesterday from the book, and that was the topic of faith. Now, Napoleon Hill goes to great pains to say that faith is not a religious version of faith. It's a different kind of faith altogether. However, the Bible's version of faith is not a religious one either. People often associate the Bible with religion and the creeds of religion and being told this is how it is, without actually looking at what the Bible itself says. They just take it as read that the religions know what they're talking about, when a lot of the times they don't. So faith is an interesting one. The Bible talks about faith in a very similar way to Napoleon Hill, because he said faith and belief, well, the first thing you need to do in relation to visualization and manifestation is you've got to have the desire. So then when you have that desire, you've got to have faith. So you've got to have faith that these things are going to happen. Now, the Bible says that, well, let me have a look at this translation. I've got it out because I can never remember it word for word. If you have a look at a Bible at Hebrews 11 verse 1, it says, faith is the assured expectation of what is hoped for, the evident demonstration of realities that are not seen. Now, this is something that has been pinched by Napoleon Hill and put into these principles of Think and Grow Rich. It says it right there, that faith is the evident demonstration of realities that are not seen. You can have faith in something, and even Jesus himself said, right? He said, if you have faith this big, remember when one of his disciples, Peter, tried to walk on water and he sunk after Jesus walked on water? He said, if you have faith this big, you'd be able to move mountains. It was only because Peter doubted he wasn't able to walk on water, so he didn't have that faith. That was more of a miraculous situation. So faith is a really interesting concept that's used in manifestation and visualization. You've got to have faith. It's not a religious thing. It is a practical thing that we as human beings are embodied with or imbued with, that we can use to manifest good things in our lives, or bad things. Can be bad things too. So, for instance, the Bible talks about if you think about bad things too often, those bad things will eventually happen. So it's all about thinking. Thinking in the right way can manifest amazing things, just as thinking in the wrong way can manifest bad things. And Think and Grow Rich talked about those people that have the mindset of, for instance, people who go around thinking, oh, I've always got bad luck. I always have bad luck. They will always have bad things happen to them because that's what their belief is. That's what their faith is. So I thought that was fascinating that this principle that, Think and Grow Rich, when was that written? In the 30s? So it's still reasonably new, right? It's modern. But it's touching on ancient principles, bring them into modern day. And I just thought it was fascinating. There's 13 principles to success in Napoleon Hill's book, and I'm up to principle 5 or 6 or 7. I can't remember which one it is. But the audio book goes for 10 hours. I've got a long way to go. I'm about 4 hours in. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because I went to a conference on the weekend called Freedom Fest, and a lot of the speakers they were helping us to activate the version 2.0 of ourselves. So helping us to tap into our potential and become a better person, to get rid of the gunk that's inside our bodies emotionally and physically and spiritually, and improve ourselves. So that was really, really good. So self-love is a very important thing. There are a couple of speakers though, when some of the, and I found this mostly with women, they were coming out of certain speakers saying, anyone who doesn't like what I've got to say, you can get lost, you can get out of my life. They were using words a bit more colourful than that. Get lost. You can only imagine, right? But you see, that self-love is very selfish. And it's not what I got from that. Self-love is also derived from something that Jesus said in the scriptures. Like, if you remember that, Suzanne, you're here. What are the 2 greatest commandments? I want you to know, Suzanne, what the 2 greatest commandments are. So, does anyone else know? I think Sammy's on there. Are you there, Sammy? The 2 greatest commandments in the Bible that Jesus gave. I'm just going to wait and see if Suzanne knows this. I want you to whack her in the comments, Suzanne. I'm sure you do. Good on you, Sammy. Waiting for the time lag. By the way, has anyone seen my unfollow song? Go to my profile after this and have a look at my unfollow song. It's a 20-second song. If you want more of that spontaneous composition, you've got to give me some more love. I'll come up with plenty more songs like that. Don't you worry about that. Suzanne, I can't wait any longer. My patience is gone. So the 2 greatest commandments that Jesus said is to love God, obviously. Okay, that's number 1. That's as human beings. That's as creations. We are. That's our number 1 obligation. Number 2 is to love your neighbour. All right. So you're right, Suzanne. Don't worry about it. Love your neighbour. And we stop there. Often we stop there. But Jesus said you must love your neighbour, so give love to other people as yourself. You've got to love yourself first. So if you're not loving your neighbour as yourself, like if you don't love yourself, how can you, if you have self-loathing, for instance, if you don't like yourself, if you hate yourself, how's that going to translate to your neighbour? That's going to come across when you give that, whatever that is, you're going to give to them. It's not good, is it? So self-love is big in personal development. But there's, like all things, there's got to be a balance. There's got to be a balance. Yep, that's the number 1 commandment, Suzanne. Love God with your whole heart. But I'd never really looked at that before. I read an article this morning that was fascinating, that really pointed that out. Because, you know, with personal development, you can go too far. Like these women that I thought on the weekend, I think they were going a bit too far. Like, if you don't like what I've got to say, you can get out of my life. You know, that's taking self-love a little bit too far. I think self-love is something where you need to care for yourself a little bit more than that. If you come out of that angry space when you're dealing with people, what does that say? What's that reflect about how you love yourself? So the more you love yourself in a good way, the better you're able to love other people. So self-love is important, but as I said, got to have the balance. And like I said, Jesus spoke those words thousands of years ago. And personal development is really surging ahead. People are really tapping into that. But this is wisdom that's been around for thousands and thousands of years. And it's not new. So I love that, because of being a student of the scriptures all my life, being able to see those principles when people are bringing out those principles. I used to feel a little bit ripped off, like, oh, he's just ripping off something from there. But no, it's a good thing. If you're going to take a principle from that, from the Bible, and really expand on it and focus on it and really examine it, I think that's awesome. If it can make us better people, better human beings in a practical way, I think that is absolutely fantastic. Thanks, Suzanne. What moved you to talk about this today? This is exactly, I'm glad it's what you needed, Suzanne. What moved me to talk about this was listening to the chapter on faith by the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Because I see lots of quotes by Napoleon Hill, and I've never read anything by his before. This is all new. And you know me, Suzanne. I like the practical side of personal development. I like Mel Robbins, that kind of thing. And I find it fascinating that Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, is kind of like the halfway point between Carl Jung and who was the other eminent psychologist of the time? I can't remember. I've got a mind blank. It was Jung, and who was the other one? Got a mind blank. It's driving me bonkers now that I can't think of that other big psychologist. Freud, that's it. Sigmund Freud. But the principles that Napoleon Hill talks about are more Jungian based. Not that I am an expert on Jung or Freud. I have no idea. I just find the concepts in psychology and what's being used by Napoleon Hill, and then what's been taken forward. Freud. What's been taken on by other personal development mentors in more recent history is fascinating. So that's all I wanted to say today. Thank you very much for watching, for jumping on. Type a replay in the comments, or if you're actually, Suzanne, I think Freud is spelled Freud. Is that right? Freud? Yeah, because there was a music artist in the States, in Australia, called Freud. What was his name? James Freud, I think it was. I think he was the lead singer of a band called The Models. There you go. Just a little bit of trivia that's completely off track. Thanks for watching, guys. Drop replay in the comments. Check out Kelly and I's Facebook page. Just look for Kelly and Dwayne. You'll find out what we're doing there. And I hope I gave you some value. And if you like what you heard today, just give it a share. Drop us a comment. I love engaging with my audience. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. See you guys.